Testing, 1, 2, 3, check, check, audio check, 1, 2, 3. Hello again, everyone. I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel today. We're going to do a special oil painting today. I'm glad you're joining us for this live broadcast. I'm going to try to do a sort of a tribute to Bob Ross. I don't know how many of you know, but 36 years ago this month, he started his painting series on PBS stations. And it got a lot of people painting. It even got me interested about sometime later. But I think his first one was in like 1983, and he started on a PBS station making his broadcast, getting the video taped, and so the rest is history. There's a sort of a renewed interest in Bob Ross today. I want to talk to you a minute. I'll go over to the computer and show you a couple of sites that are happening. But today we're going to do everything with Bob Ross tools, Bob Ross paints, Bob Ross palette. I have the composition I've sort of put together. I just have a little thumbnail sketch up here you can see. It's going to be a composite of several different of Bob Ross type paintings. So rather than copy something specific, I'm going to kind of do a little more on my own here. And we're painting on a 16 by 20 white canvas today instead of my usual gray gesso canvas. And I also have it covered with liquid white. So what you see here on my palette, you see the paints. I have them arrayed on the traditional Bob Ross palette that he used. He would always see him with using that. And so I have liquid white here, and I have liquid black in my my pan here. And I've already put the liquid white on, so this canvas is all covered with liquid white. So I want to go over to the computer and talk to you a few minutes and tell you a little bit about Bob Ross's style and how he does the things he does, if you haven't ever watched him and don't know. But anyway, I'll be right back. Just hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, right now I'm at my computer, and I wanted to tell you that there's a couple of sites, the Bob Ross videos, all of them, all series, 400 and some videos, have been made available on YouTube. Actually, they've released them all to YouTube, and so I want to show you that website, or it's really, yeah, it's just a YouTube site, and then I also want to tell you about another group that's on Facebook that I joined recently. So let me see if I can get this thing working the way I want it to. This should be displaying for you now the page on my computer. If you go to YouTube and just put in Bob Ross in the search, you'll go right to his page, and you'll see there's a full 1-hour documentary here on his life. And there's several other tributes here from Phil Donahue, Jane Seymour, Duff Goldman, and Brad Paisley, all of whom have had interactions with Bob Ross in one way or another. But you see below here, there are all these episodes. They're all arranged in order by season. There are 31 seasons, each one having 13 episodes. And so that's the Bob Ross page on Facebook, on YouTube. Then if we look at Facebook, there's a Bob Ross Appreciation Society, BRAS for short. I joined that the other day. It's a closed group, but there's about almost 8,000 members right now, 7860 members it says right here. And so you have to answer a few questions, and they let you in. I've just been kind of impressed with some of the paintings that I've seen show up out here, and I thought that I would try this sort of a tribute to Bob Ross and see how it comes out today. So let me go back now and put in my some of my supplies and stuff that I'm going to be using today. You saw a little bit of my paints are already on the palette there. You see here I have liquid white, and I have a range of brushes. These brushes are ones that I've used because I taught the Bob Ross painting style in a community I lived in for about 7 or 8 years. And so I had a lot of extra brushes. I would bring them to class, and people needed a brush, I would sell it to them. And so I had a lot of students that sort of followed me for almost 8 years while I lived in that community. But one thing that I always explained to people is that Bob Ross painted his paintings like this. And a lot of people paint their paintings like this, but I sort of made a little illustration here that you can see, hopefully, that shows it's sort of a background, middle ground, and foreground. And on the background, you always started with typically liquid white, covered the whole canvas. And then you would start and paint what's called back to front, top to bottom. You may have heard me use that term before. And so you paint the things that's farthest in the distance, like you'll paint the sun first, and then you'll paint the sky, and then you'll paint clouds. So you're always building the painting from the back, farthest distance toward yourself. So that you paint those things in the background, paint distant mountains or distant trees, and then you move to the next layer. And when you get to that layer, you're painting the closer trees, closer mountains, some water reflections maybe, that type of thing. And start painting some land. And then as you get that layer finished, you paint the final layer, which is the foreground items. This is where you have your big trees and big foreground objects, maybe rocks, maybe another water pond or something, maybe some buildings, and some finer details. And the paint always gets darker usually as you come from back to front, because in a landscape, that's really what happens. So anyway, that's the idea of the painting. You'll see me do that. I won't be talking about that a lot, but basically we'll be painting in layers, moving from the liquid white stage all the way up to the final painting. And then you see there's no sketch available here, which I normally try to have sketches available for you so you can see them. Anyway, I did this little thumbnail sketch, and this is what we're going to use as a guide for our painting today. So that's really all I wanted to show you and tell you about it. If you have an interest in Bob Ross's paintings, you can go watch him on Facebook or on YouTube and see some of his work on the Facebook page. And I'll do this. If you guys like it, I may do another one, but I'll let you decide whether you like this style of painting or not. But I'm going to go back to the easel now, and we'll get started on this painting. Okay, so you saw that I had my brush here, my big brush, and I've got this thing all covered. It's nice and slick, and it's ready to go. I have this nice long drying liquid white, which takes some time to dry. So these things will take quite a while to dry probably. But let me get my camera set up here since I have my controls. Bob Ross always had a nice crew of people around him because he was making videotapes and putting them out for broadcast later, and so they could edit those tapes and make them however they needed to. So I'll just use my camera tools here and get myself lined up for you, and think that's, you can see the whole page, or the whole canvas rather, I want to say. So let's get started. This is going to have a nice little mood to it. It's going to start out with, I'm going to use one of the brushes I have that Bob Ross sells was a filbert brush, and you know I usually use filbert brushes, and so we're going to start with this to make an orange background here. I want to get I'm going to put the sun in first. So it's going to be sort of light, put a little bit of white in there, lighten it up, and want to make this sun. We're going to paint the sun. That's the farthest thing, the farthest away, and it's sort of going to be like right in here. Try to keep it round if we can. Also, I have a chat window here since this is a live broadcast. If you want to ask me any questions or pose any suggestions or whatever, feel free to do it. I'll be glad to take your questions and try to answer them if I can. But there's our sun. All right. So what goes around the sun? We're going to start with our get this 1-inch brush, and I want to get some of these brushes out of the way here. I normally don't have this many brushes on my workstation here. So we're going to start with a little bit of this alizarin crimson. Pick up some white, maybe a little liquid white to thin it down. Make sure that we have enough here. And we're going to start and go around this guy here with some of this alizarin crimson and white. I've probably told you before, Bob Ross, when he painted his paintings, he did them in something like 26, 27 minutes. He painted a canvas, a large canvas, like 18 by 24 canvas, and he would do that in like 26, 27 minutes. That's really why he had the large brushes that he used. So let's start changing this a little bit. We put a little bit of Van Dyke Brown in this. We're going to start out getting a little more brownish warm color. Since this is going to be a warm sky, we want to make sure we have warm colors in here. So alizarin crimson is typically maybe not as warm as the other red that we have on our palette. I didn't go over the palette colors, I just realized that. However, they're the same colors I've always used. There's only 12 colors in the Bob Ross palette. And titanium white, we have phthalo blue, we have Prussian blue, midnight black, Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, which is what I'm using right here right now, alizarin crimson, and sap green, we have cad yellow, we have yellow ochre, and we have Indian yellow, and we finally have bright red. So that's the colors. Typically I add another color to my mix. Usually I pull out a Grumbacher violet color, ultramarine violet, but you get some of this on here a little faster. This brush, big brush, does a good job painting these skies in. Mix up, I get the pink color, the dark sienna, and get this all painted down around the top of where the cabin's going to be in here. Our horizon line is going to be just about here, probably. I want to say about right there. So why does this painting system work? Well, it's because you have this underpainting of liquid white, and it basically gives you something to paint from. And to paint on top of, and it lets it blend and blur and changes the tone of the whole painting. It's a much softer painting. Okay, I'll put a little darker colors in the corners here, and see if that helps darken those down. You typically want your corners to be a little bit darker in a landscape if you can. This down to the horizon line, so we make sure we have this canvas all covered. We're going to have some water. I'm going to make this water down here, and I want to have this sky reflecting into this water. And I just got all over my fingers because I keep forgetting that I'm painting wet into wet here. This is going to be the water and the reflections in the water. So hopefully you can see that. Hopefully it's coming across good. So we want to get this all blended here right away, and I'm going to just sort of blend it together as much as I can so that you can't hardly tell where one color lets off and another color picks up. So these kinds of skies are very pleasing and soft, and now we got that orange in the middle. If I run this brush right over that orange, you know what's going to happen. It's going to pull that orange out into everything else, and I don't want that to happen. So let's see if I can get a dry brush here. You see how that looks. Step back and take a look. Not too bad. It's giving a nice warm tone to that sky. See here. The dry brush. I got another big brush here. Since it's dry, I'm going to sort of come in here and just sort of start blending this together a little bit like this. Makes that sun slightly diffused, and it runs the colors together so that you know there's a sun there, but it's not like taking over everything. And then the last little trick that Bob would do is take a little titanium white on his finger and put it right in the center of this sun. Gotta get more titanium white than that. Okay, now that's has a lot of paint on there. Got it kind of pushed into the canvas as much as I can, but it's also bumpy. So the trick to fix that and to make it blend better, you take your knife, you just kind of come in here and very quickly you just go something like that, except you got to hit the canvas there, like that. So it just lightened up that center just a little. We might want to hit it just again a little bit to make sure that it's good and white, and then use our knife and give it a scraping again like that. Okay, and then come back with our big brush, dry brush, and sort of blend everything together so we don't have any marks in there. All right, so hopefully that looks like that's sort of a ring around the sun, and it's putting a nice glow on this landscape. All right, so I've used a big 2-inch brush, I've used a 1-inch brush, I've used this number 6 filbert to do what I've done here, and it's been done in just 15 minutes or so. So that's probably half the painting right there. All right, let's what are we going to do next? Since this is a snow painting, we have a lot of snow in here. One of the favorite brushes to use for snow painting for me is this big old fan brush. I've got about 4 of them here. I've got, or 5 of them actually. I got these number, that's the big one, the number 6, and then there's a number, what is it, number 3, I think it is. So we're going to kind of just start coming in here with some of this snow. Needs to be lighter than that, whiter than that. Gonna get some snow back in here. Need to go ahead and put those trees. I got trees that are going to go behind this cabin, and typically we put those trees in first and then paint the cabin over it. So I just want to load in some snow here so I can make sure where I'm going with this, so I don't have any confusion. Since we don't have a drawing on this canvas, we want to make sure we know where we're going here. So I just put a little tint, a little phthalo blue in with this titanium white, with a touch of liquid white in it to make sure that it flows. And we'll just get it laid in here. These are all the snow areas. I'm going to have some shadows from the blue, and I'll get a layer on here and let it that be percolating. All right, even over here we're going to have some more snow, so I'll just throw this in, empty out the brush on it. Okay, now time to do some trees. We're going to put in some big pine trees. We're going to have this cabin is going to set here. And I want to put the pine trees in first before I put the cabin in. So let's get some dark here. I'm going to use my Midnight Black, my Van Dyke Brown, dark sienna, alizarin. Really get a good dark color out of this. And even put a little bit of that Prussian blue in there. We'll get a really good dark. Okay, so what we want to do here now is put in some big old trees. We got some put in. This is the technique for putting in big pine trees. Need to have more paint, more dark. These bigger brushes, this bigger canvas uses more paint. So let's just put in several big trees here back behind this cabin. And you've heard me talk about these before. You know, typically these trees sort of all run together. It really doesn't make a whole lot of difference what's in the inside down here in this area, as long as what's on the edge looks like pine trees. That's what the viewer will think this is. So I'm putting in just globs of trees, and then I'm going to come back here, and on the top I'm going to put in these little trunks and touch them up there. Put another one here. There's a couple more over here. Okay, so I'm just kind of working my way down the canvas with these dark colors, dark Prussian blue, Midnight Black, Van Dyke Brown, and come down here. Let's put in a few more. Maybe even some that are a little closer. You can see them like this. There might even be one or two out this way. Okay, so see how this looks over here. You just kind of use the corner of this brush and just make these little things like that, and you all of a sudden you have pine trees out here. Okay. Down here we need some more. I'm going to put in some grassy things down here that have some turned up like this. Put a little more of my brown in there in some areas, and so we just have a nice batch of really dark stuff going on back here. All right. Hold on that brush for a little bit. Let's get one of our script liner brushes, and we get a little thinner on it. I haven't washed out any brushes yet. Hello, Susan, Lindy, welcome. Hope you like this. We're trying something different today. I haven't done a Bob Ross painting for many years, or this style actually. I used to teach this when I taught it for many years in the previous community I used to live in, and I had about 50, 60 students that followed me and took my classes regularly, and it's a lot of fun. But I thought, since there's a renewed interest in Bob Ross and his painting style, that it might be time to do a little appreciation painting, because it is 36 years since he did this, and it's amazing how long his style has hung on, and the paints and the brushes, all this stuff. You can buy all this stuff, and it's still going on after all these years. And the documentary, if you go to his YouTube page and look at that, you'll see what kind of what he went through to kind of get his self-established and how he did it. It's a pretty good documentary, I think. Let's see, I want to put some more trees. Got some more over here. I'm using all pine trees here. We could put in some other kind of trees that would work as well. Matter of fact, let me show you that little technique. There's a this round brush. We have so Bob Ross has a big round brush. And this thing has some interesting shapes it creates. So let's try a little bit of that, and I'll show you the kind of bushes and stuff we can create with it here. Okay, so I'm just making another line of trees and bushes here out of using this round brush and using dark sienna, a little bit of Van Dyke brown, and you can put these trees in, and as you go up, because this has this liquid white underneath it, they'll get lighter. If you start really at the bottom, you start at the bottom and go up. They'll get lighter as you go up, and it leaves that nice little I don't know what you call it, just those spindly type tops on those, as they would be if they're like trees that are put just a few more in here to sort of make that so it's not quite so distinct. Put a few more on the other side to sort of soften it. This looks too mechanical here. It just looks like there's I want to make that slightly less specific, a little bit more abstract, a little bit less. So that's using the big old round brush to get some of these trees and bushes and stuff in here. We could actually put some across the other side. Over here, we're going to have big pine trees and stuff over here, but I might as well put some of these in back here as well, and just let it sort of flow together back there in the far background. Okay, so you see I've left an area here for a cabin. We've got area down here. We're going to have some more of these types of bushes and that sort of thing. So this isn't exactly the way Bob Ross would do it, but certainly very close. Yeah, Lindy, these colors are great. These pinks and reds, oranges. That's a great sky color for a winter scene because it makes it very, very warm and makes you feel like if you get in that cabin, you might really have a nice warm place as long as we have a fire going on in there. Okay, that's enough of that right now. Let's go back and see if we can put in a few more trunk-like things in some of these bushes and stuff back here. Put in a few. Oops, that's not very dark, is it? Get me some more. I'm using some liquid black now, and since it's liquid black, it will lie on top of whatever's there because it's thinner. When you paint this alla prima style, a thin paint will stick over the top of a thicker paint. If you need to get your paint to stick, just thin it down with thinner or something like that, and it will stick and adhere. So I'm just filling in some of the gaps here with some vertical things that help kind of show what's going on in that background there. I may paint over some of these things, I don't know, but anyway, it sort of kind of completes that a little bit better back there. All right. Okay, so there's that. All right, now we're going to start coming forward here, bringing this snow down, and I want to have mostly white, but I want to try to put in some darker color. You can kind of take this and pull it. Look how this works. Just kind of pull that dark color right down, and it basically helps identify the land that you're modeling. We're actually making this look like it's snow laying on the side of a hill, because this is going to be all water down here, so I want this to look like it's all flowing down into a creek or a stream or a pond of some sort. And that's what this is doing for us. It's basically letting this all go that way, and those little dark, those subtle dark shadows in there basically tell you that's what's happening. So, and by just pulling them out of the trees, you basically get that automatically. That's the wrong angle. Okay. Oh yes, there's going to be a chimney. Definitely I left room for that. I've got a little area right here where I think I'm going to put that chimney, put some white smoke coming out of it. So didn't forget the chimney, Lindy. I'm going to put it in there. Can't have a warm cabin in the middle of a snow area like this without having a chimney on top of it. I mean, for sure. All right, let's just leave that for a while now. So you're seeing the brush strokes are telling you what's happening back here. You got this valley, and this water is running down in that area. Okay, so I'll hold on that big brush for a while. My next step is going to be to get out my palette knife, and we're going to go in here and start making this cabin. All right, so use this big number 5 palette knife, and I'm going to get some black and brown, midnight black, a little bit of the Van Dyke brown, and see if I can get this cabin started in the right place here, like right here. I want this to go like this, up like that. Let's see, that's just about right. You see, I'm not doing this nearly as fast as Bob Ross did it. He'd have this whole painting done by now. So let's pull this down, take some more, pull it down this way. Okay, starting to see the cabin up here, more here. Try to keep this point up here if we can, about a 90-degree angle. I'm talking about 90 degrees right here. So we have this stuff going on like this. All right. Side is going to have put it in here like this, like that. Right back into that woods. Okay, that looks like a cabin, doesn't it? Okay, got to have snow on the roof. We're going to have a chimney there, so I don't want to mess that up. I'm going to try to get just a little of this texture in here, a little bit of this, little bit of white and some of this brown, and as you know, we get a little bead of paint on this knife, and then you just come in and run it down like this. It just helps put some other texture in it. It makes that look like old barn wood, old cabin wood or something. And then of course, using our liquid, our midnight black, we're going to put us a big door right in here. Except you got to put some paint on it. I didn't let enough paint come off the knife. Something like this. Can't even see that really, can you? We'll fix that and put some more paint on there. Okay, now that, then on top of that we want to put just a little bit of the put a little bit of an outline around it. I would watch Bob Ross paint with his knife. He'd take this knife, put a little bit of weight on the bottom of that, like that on the edge, and then he would just do this. Outline that little door. Pick up a little bit of the blue over here that I had used in the snow, and a nice little roll of paint on it, and put a window right here, like that. And then, I don't know if we can put some white around that or not. Let's see. He did this so fast, it was unbelievable. Okay, at least it looks like there's a window there. And then, what do we need on the roof? We need snow. All right, I'm going to pick up some liquid white and titanium white, thin it down so I got a nice I need to step back and look at this for a minute and get myself a drink of water. I'm having some hand cramping going on here, sorry. All right, let's get this knife again. All right, we're going to put some snow on that roof, like right here. A little bit of dirt on the top of that cabin, but that's not too bad. Because I didn't clean my knife off. See, if I clean my knife off before I put that second stroke of paint on there, could have, there we go. Still got some of that dark in there, it's all right. We want to have some of that dark, or this snow on this edge too over here, like that, because we have had a little snowstorm here. All right, leave it a little rough, that's okay. Snow might be hanging around like that. All right, so now we've got our cabin pretty well there, with the exception of, as Lindy reminded me, don't forget the chimney. So let's put that chimney in there right now. I'm going to get myself some red, bright red. I'm going to put ourselves a chimney right here. Add some dark to that, get some little bit of my dark sienna. Something like that. Okay. Leave the dirt on the roof. Good idea. That's what I thought. It would certainly have dirt on the roof for sure, right? Now, I don't know if I can, I'm going to do this exactly. Thinking about my smoke coming out of that chimney. If I don't put that in now, I'm going to forget it. But I'm going to put something in here like this that just sort of goes off into the background. Pick up a little more of my liquid white and just make sure that sort of stands out. Make sure you see that. All right, now the back side of this chimney should be a little bit darker, maybe, since it's out of the light. So I'll put a little more dark right there. All right, let's stop with that and leave it. Glow of a lamp in the window. Boy, you're really putting pressure on me today, Lindy. Let's see. How about some cad yellow with liquid white? Like right in here, we'll just It's not very yellow, is it? Need to get a little more yellow in there. Okay. Can't quite see that, can you? Brighten it up a little bit more here. I'll make it, put a little more on there. Does that look like? Well, it looks like bright yellow here to me, but I don't think it looks that way on what you're watching necessarily. May not be coming across too well in the TV version of this. It's there, Lindy. All right, so now we're ready to move down, start doing a little more snow sculpting. Going to move down this way, put in some more snow on the side of this cabin here. I don't know if you ever remember watching Bob Ross. He always did something called a cabinectomy, where he comes in and kind of whacks out a section of this like this and sort of puts the angle to make sure you have the right perspective on there, just by scraping paint off. Trying to tell you as many things as I can remember of stuff he did, but we want to have some snow that's sort of kind of built up on this cabin here, so I'm going to pop in some snow, and then we're going to pull it down if I can get enough dirt out of my brush. Needs to be whiter than that. I don't have enough pure titanium white. Get that going here. So we're getting a little bit of a reflection here. Even have a little bit of this where it comes up. Some of these things have okay, it's nicely nestled back there in that woods. Yeah. Okay, so we have a cabin, we have a fire going in the fireplace, smoke coming out the chimney, a lamp in the window. Man, one of the things we could do, which I didn't do, was maybe put a little bit of a snow, on these trees before I leave that background totally, but we can kind of pop in just a little bit of white things back here and kind of make it look like there is snow on some of these other trees. I don't know if you can see that well, but it looks a little better here if I put some snow on these things. Even these other trees, let's see, let me finish off these trees, put a little snow on them in some places, so it looks like we've had a snow, and there's some snow hanging around. Back in this area here, I'll pick up some more just titanium white and liquid white together and just sort of pop in a few little highlights here that sort of tell you we have some bushes that are kind of covered with snow. While I'm doing that, after I do that, I want to come out here and put just a little bit on some of these trees out here. So it kind of finishes off the idea that we are in a snow scene, and it has snowed recently, and there's some snow still hanging on these trees, and got it floating around in the areas. Got some bushes here that have some snow on them. All right, enough of that maybe. Okay, what's next? All right, we're getting close to coming down this bank here. I wanted to make sure that we have it identified so that that we can see the little path coming out of the door, like right in here. I don't want to cover up my snowdrifts in there. I want to just sort of give you a little bit of a indication that it's like indented. I need to make it darker blue probably. Yeah, something like this. So it kind of looks like there's a path going there. And then to finish that off, come back and get some more of my white, clear, good white, and just sort of layer over that, and come back the other side and layer some over that. So we actually see the snow on the other side here. It starts to help identify these little ripples and areas that are standing out back there. So we're giving it more definition with putting this clear white on top. We're coming down to the water down here now, so I want to put, wherever I have these blue lines, I want to put some snow over the top of it to kind of make it look like we've got some indentations in that snow and whatever. Okay, so let's just leave it like that. All right, so we're coming down to the water down here now. What's in the water? Well, water has no real color, right? You've heard me say that before. So it either reflects the sky, it reflects what's around it, what's in it, what's under it. So in this case, we are reflecting the sky. We already have the sky color down there. So let's see if we can get it, put a few reflections of this cabin in there, right? So we want to do that by taking, I'm going to use this fan brush, I think. Get these colors from the cabin on the fan brush, and we're going to come down here and just put in some streaks like this that give us the idea that we're reflecting something. If you can see that, I'm going to have to move my, there we go. Okay, so it's definitely reflecting what's up above it there, and these vertical streaks will tell you that's what's happening. I need to clean out my brush here. Get this pinkish color out of this brush, and so the way you help make these reflections look even more specific, I put that dark in there, but I left that dark in my fan brush. Let me get that out and put in, I want to put a few more reflections from that sky coming down in here. Getting back into some of the other darker colors. Okay, so the technique here is, since I put these vertical strokes in the water, it's telling you that that's water that's still, it's not moving very much. And sort of to complete that, this illusion of water, you want to take your brush and sort of give it these horizontal strokes like this, wipe it out, come across like that, wipe your brush out, come across, and just take some of the brush marks out of there so they're not so specific. All right, so now we have a nice reflection, and that looks like that's water reflecting that cabin. That's the idea, anyway. We need to probably put a little color around the bank of this here. We're going to kind of come in and put in a, that's really pretty dark. Too dark probably. So let's put in a bit of a lighter color, and we're going to kind of put in this bank along here that's sort of outlines the water's edge. I just took a little, my typical little thing that I would use for pulling down, and just sort of putting it in here, sliding it sideways. So you now see we have an edge on that snow, and I want to put a little snow over the top of that in some areas, so I'll just kind of hit it there if I can keep it from running away with me. I'll leave some areas of snow over the top here, make it look a little more finished off. Okay, so it looks like sort of the edge that you'd see on a lake. And we can even enhance that a little more by just kind of pulling down some of these colors a little bit. Sort of reflecting the bank a little bit, whatever's in that bank. Just give ourselves those pastel colors. We got the pink and the blue and that sort of thing, and then obviously we got to use a dry brush and go back and rework that slightly, just so that it's not so strong that it takes over. Putting that phthalo blue in there really causes havoc with your paints. It just takes over whatever color it's put in. Alright, so that's pretty much all I want to do here. I'll pull it down just a little more and then hit it one more time so it's a little bit. Alright, so now we got this other bank over here on this side, and we're going to put in a couple of big old trees in here. I'm thinking I'm going to put in as good old Bob Ross would say. I don't know how many of you know when he died. He died early. He was only 52. He died on July 4th, 1995. He was 52 years old. And he had been running his Joy of Painting series on PBS for about 12 years. And he made 31 seasons of episodes, with 13 episodes in each season. And so he really died prematurely. And he died of a cancer which is similar to the cancer I have. He had lymphoma. So I feel kind of connected a little bit to that. I'm just picking up some Van Dyke brown and some black here in my brush, and when I put it on, you notice how it lightens up a lot. So we're putting in some big old bushy trees here, kind of like we have over there, but these are bigger because why? They're closer to us. So that means we've got to make them a little darker. And so let's see here. So I'm getting the gray, letting them sort of hang over here. See how what that looks like when you pound that brush? It gives you these nice little things that hang over there. It's really a unique thing that you can't get hardly with any other method. I mean, if I were using my traditional brushes and techniques, I would have to use a dry brush and try to just feather that edge a little bit to try to even get close to those. But because Bob Ross had to find a way to get his paintings done in 26, 27 minutes, he had to come up with these new techniques that would allow him to do that. So these big brushes, this stamping operation here that we're doing, the pounding on the canvas, if you will, that's what does it. So I'm just putting in a mixture of colors here, mostly midnight black in some areas, and some let it sort of turn gray because you put that midnight black on, and it basically hits with that liquid white that's underneath, and it grays it down. All right, so there. So we've got some bushes here, and we got some bushes. We're going to have a little bit of snow on them to be consistent with our pattern here, with our design. So we're going to come back and put just a little bit of snow on the edges of those and get this big brush cleaned out. Glad you're all staying with me. I hope you enjoyed this. Check out that Bob Ross Appreciation site on Facebook. By Bob Ross Appreciation Society, I should call it. And if you're a fan of his work, you'd like to see more of this kind of thing, just join up and you'll see a lot of people. I don't know, many people are putting videos out there yet. I'm going to put this one out there. I invited those people to tune in and watch me, but I'm going to post it when I get the final video edited, and we'll invite them to our channel. Maybe they'll like some of the other paintings that we do here. All right, so I'm just putting in stamping in a little bit of snow on these trees. Get my script liner here. I want to get some more paint thinner out, put it in there, thin it down. Have to put something in these trees to make them look like trees, so let's put a few things here. I don't want to put in every branch and every tree trunk. I just want to make it look like it's really a tree. It's not, these are a bunch of trees. It's not just a bunch of bushes hanging up there. All right, so let's put a few things in here like this. All right. All right, so that's a nice little grouping of trees. Ashivy, thank you. Okay, so where are we here? Let's see if I can. Now I'm struggling with whether I should do the typical Bob Ross thing and come back in here and put a big old tree right down through the middle of all this. Since I'm giving you this demonstration, trying to mimic a lot of what Bob Ross did in his paintings, I think I might want to do that just to see if I can make it work. Along here we need some snow along this bank here to kind of let you know this is the side of the snow bank here, hitting on my there, something like that. Just put a little paint on your knife and just sort of push it in and pull it up, push in and pull up. So you push a little bit of that paint in the canvas and you pull up, and it leaves that very nice edge that makes it look like it's going to be lighter down there because it's maybe sticking up and it's closer to the edge of the water. So let's pull up on it. Add a few more things like this. This is rough texture, really fast. That little thing, and just pull it fast like that, and you get some. It's really hard for you to see that, but that's there. Okay, folks, we've been going about exactly an hour. I could put a big old tree right in here, and what do you say? Anybody interested in that? If so, I'll put another big pine tree in here with some branches on it. This looks like all this back in here. It looks like it's nice and sort of mysterious. There's a lot of stuff going on back there. Looks like a little dense forest. But you know, Bob Ross wouldn't leave that like that. He would come in and he'd put a great big old tree right down through the middle. I think since I've been going an hour, I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'll let this rest and tell you I appreciate you watching, and I'm going to get my name on here somewhere, and we'll call this painting finished. You can try this yourself. It takes a very simple sketch. And you don't have to work very hard for it if you got a couple of the tools that I've shown you here today. It takes me longer to do my name than it does Bob Ross. Okay, folks, need a dead tree in front. Oh, well, I can do that. That's really fast and easy. We can put in a couple of those. Actually, I should have put in some more bushes. Like right in here, we can just put in a tree coming up like this. Something like that. Put a few more branches on it. Something like that. Maybe a couple more little things sticking out the bottom. I was thinking about putting in some a few more bushes, like maybe some bushes like this in this area. Thought about putting some over here, like maybe actually I had that in my drawing. I was going to put some little bushes over here. That would be something you might see lying down by the river's edge, or creek, or whatever this is. So I'll just sort of put that in, pull those down, put in some more. These things can be flicked up. There, I'm finishing off a little better. I'd say that's a little better, maybe. Thanks for the suggestion, you guys. When you don't have a rigid photograph or something to follow, you can kind of do it very quickly, and something like that is probably good enough. You just want to make sure where you put something like this in that it's connected to the ground. You don't want to have it just look like it's stuck on. You don't want to have it look like you glued something on there. You want it to be surrounded by debris or something that makes it look like there's something that holds it into the ground. All right. What else? A few sticks coming out of the bushes on the right. Ah, yes. Okay, Lindy, you're going to have to try this and send me your example. All right, folks. I think I've probably done enough now, and with that said, I'm going to back up here and say I hope you like this, and once you give it a try, if you get a chance, and let me know how you do on it, because it's kind of a fun painting. I see that blue in the middle. When I look at it now, looks like that's almost too much. It's almost too blue. It's kind of taking over. That phthalo blue is kind of bad right there. I put a sort of a big glob on there, and I didn't mean to get that much of it. But I can fix that up very easily with a few brush strokes like that, and another brush stroke that would come across and sort of wipe it out. All right, folks, I'm glad you joined me today and stuck with me. Got brown in this brush. A couple more seconds and I'll be signing off here. All right. Still too blue, but maybe I got a big glob of paint there that I can't get rid of. Right there. So you see me make mistakes, and then you see me figure out how to correct them a little bit, maybe. Pull that white down over the blue. Maybe that'll help. Yeah, that's a little better. All right. The blue doesn't reflect anything else in the sky, which is... all right, I'm going to stop. You can give this a try, and hopefully you'll have some fun with it, and enjoy the Bob Ross style. Enjoy the Facebook page if you join, and check out my Facebook page as well. And if you like this, share it with some of your friends, and tell them that you like my painting style, and maybe I'll get a few more subscribers out of that. So I'll be doing an oil painting again the third Wednesday of every month this year, as much as I can. And I'll be doing a watercolor the fourth Wednesday of every month. And there'll be live broadcasts, so you can watch those. And hopefully you like both watercolors and oils, because I like both. They're opposite painting styles. They're really different. So it's quite a challenge to make sure that you can do them that way. So check out my Facebook page, check out my website, and this will be posted as soon as I get it edited, and we'll go from there. So I hope you like it, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.